The most powerful thing I ever said to a woman who told me I was too old for her wasn't some rehearsed line or a desperate attempt to change her mind. It was something so simple and so grounded that it changed everything in an instant. Here's the kicker. I never even tried to convince her otherwise. And yet, she pursued me relentlessly for months afterward. It's almost ironic when you think about it. What was supposed to be a deal breaker ended up being the very thing that set me apart in her eyes. I'm going to take you on a journey through this moment and show you how it unfolded, but more importantly, I'll share a method that will help you turn the "you're too old" objection into a powerful moment of attraction. It's called the TAP method, and it's simple, effective, and deeply counterintuitive. Before we dive into the specifics, let's address the elephant in the room. Why do so many men completely sabotage their chances when a woman says something like this? I've seen it happen over and over again. Successful, confident men reduced to uncertainty and self-doubt in just seconds. The CEO who fumbles his words and becomes the old guy. The professional who overcompensates with logic, only to lose her interest. The charming bachelor whose confidence evaporates the moment he accepts her frame. But here's what nobody seems to be talking about. When a woman says, "You're too old for me," it's not necessarily a rejection. In fact, it's often a test, a subtle challenge wrapped in a question. It's an opportunity to show her something that no younger man can: unshakable confidence, playful charm, and the kind of grounded masculinity that only comes with experience. And when you know how to handle it, this supposed objection can become the very thing that makes her see you as irresistible. Let me tell you about my friend James. Just last week, James found himself in this exact situation. At a charity gala, a woman he'd been talking to for hours suddenly said, "You're too old for me." Most men would have faltered, but not James. He didn't defend himself. He didn't launch into a debate about age gaps. Instead, he handled it with grace and humor. And 2 weeks later, that same woman told her friends that James's age was one of the most attractive things about him. She even admitted she found him far more interesting than any of the younger guys she'd met. So what's the secret? It's understanding what's really going on in her mind when she says those words. When a woman says, "You're too old for me," she's not making a statement, she's asking questions. 3 to be exact. 1. Are you insecure about your age? 2. Can you handle the social pressure that might come with our age difference? 3. Are you truly confident in who you are? Answering these questions isn't about words, it's about how you carry yourself. It's about your frame, your energy, and your ability to turn the situation into an opportunity. And that's where the TAP method comes in. TAP stands for Transform the Test, Amplify the Attraction, and Position the Power Shift. It's a 3-step framework that will not only defuse her objection but also make her see you in a completely different light. Let's break it down. Step 1. Transform the test. When she says, "You're too old for me," the last thing you want to do is get defensive. Instead, you're going to lean into it with playful exaggeration. With a smirk, you might say, "You're absolutely right. I'm ancient. In fact, I just finished writing my memoirs from the Renaissance." Why does this work? It does 3 things simultaneously. 1. It shows her that you're completely unbothered by her comment. 2. It demonstrates emotional resilience, she can't rattle you. 3. It shifts the dynamic from serious to playful, which instantly changes the tone of the conversation. Step 2. Amplify the attraction. Now that you've disarmed her, it's time to turn the tables. Transition smoothly into a compliment that highlights her maturity or depth. For example, you could say, "But you know what's interesting? You've got a way of carrying yourself that's surprisingly mature." Most women in their 30s wouldn't have handled that conversation earlier as gracefully as you did. Here's what's happening when you do this. 1. You're subtly reframing the age dynamic in a positive way. 2. You're giving her a genuine compliment that sets her apart from others. 3. You're creating intrigue because you've noticed something unique about her. Step 3. Position the power shift. This is where the magic happens. With a playful smile, you say, "Actually, I should probably be more concerned about whether you're mature enough for me." So, what's the most sophisticated thing you've done this month? This final move does 3 key things. 1. It flips the script, putting you in the position of selector. 2. It creates positive tension, which is incredibly attractive. 3. It gives her a chance to prove herself to you, which deepens the connection. But here's the thing. The TAP method isn't just about handling objections, it's about creating a dynamic where age becomes irrelevant. In fact, it can even become an asset. Think about it. Younger guys can't offer the same level of confidence, experience, and emotional depth that you can. When you embrace those qualities instead of trying to downplay them, you set yourself apart in a way that no younger man ever could. Now, let's talk about something even more powerful, preventing the "you're too old" objection before it ever comes up. I call this pre-framing, and it's a game changer. The idea is simple. You position your age as a strength early on in the interaction so that by the time it might come up, it's already a non-issue. Here are 3 ways to pre-frame your age naturally in conversation. 1. The experience thread. Casually mention something like, "One thing I've learned at this stage in life is that perspective changes everything." You start to appreciate things most people overlook. This positions your age as a source of wisdom without being defensive. 2. The social proof setup. If it comes up naturally, you might mention, "My ex was actually about your age. She always said the best thing about our relationship was the way we balanced each other out." This shows you're comfortable with age gaps and demonstrates that you're desirable to women her age. 3. The value flip. Say something like, "What I love about meeting people from different generations is the way you can combine fresh perspectives with real-world wisdom." It's a rare combination. This not only highlights your maturity but also frames it as something she can benefit from. When you pre-frame your age, you're essentially guiding her perception before any objections arise. It's like planting seeds of attraction that blossom over time. At the end of the day, your age will either be your greatest insecurity or your greatest asset. The choice is entirely up to you. The men who succeed with younger women aren't the ones who try to hide their age. They're the ones who embrace it with confidence and turn it into a cornerstone of their appeal. The woman who once told me I was too old for her later admitted that the way I handled that moment was what made her realize she'd never met anyone quite like me. It wasn't about my age, it was about how comfortable I was in my own skin. And that's what truly sets you apart.